Sources of performance can come from many different places. We referred to as performance touchstones. And of course, we usually see the performance management process involve supervisors and oftentimes the self ratings of the individuals being evaluated. But there are other people who can be involved as touchstones and give information an employee's performance, including peers, direct reports, customers, and increasingly, we're seeing the use of employee performance monitoring and big data, electronic tracking of employee performance. Now, of course, supervisors are often key to the performance management process. They are in a good place to evaluate the performance of individuals, and they're familiar with the strategic goals and how they're relevant to the department that the person's working in. They're also in a place to make decisions about financial rewards. And they know about the performance dimensions being evaluated, especially if they are relevant to the job under consideration. In many cultural contexts, supervisors are seen as the exclusive source for performance information. However, in many circumstances, supervisors can't directly observe performance. They may be doing other things, they may be supervising many different people, and in some cases, evaluations may be biased. Peers are a good way to assess how an individual works in a team. So it's an advantage to get that kind of information. However, peers may have a bias to rate higher because they're friends with the person being evaluated. They may not take the process of evaluation very serious, and they might be less discriminating in indicating higher and lower performance in certain areas. And they may be susceptible to context effects. So the place and the time in which performance is being assessed might have more of an effect on peers who may not understand the larger cycle of performance within a department. Direct reports are those individuals who report to the person being evaluated. And it's often very useful to get performance feedback so that a person who is supervising others can change and develop their performance. Direct reports are often in a good position to judge the behavioral competencies of their supervisor. But we may see in these circumstances that direct reports inflate the ratings that they give their supervisors. And it might be a matter of reciprocity. They think if they rate their supervisor higher, they in turn will be rated higher. And also they may, in some circumstances, be afraid to give accurate evaluations because they might fear retaliation. Now, self-ratings are often a good idea to use in performance management. It's a good idea to understand the mental model a person has about their own performance. It also helps if a person can state their own perceptions in terms of them accepting the decisions of others. It makes people less defensive during the performance appraisal process if they're not just being judged by the other, if they also have to judge themselves. And individuals are in a good position to track their own activities and give a more complete perspective on how performance unfolds over time. But of course, we do have a bias towards ourselves. We have the self-serving bias where we see ourselves more positively than perhaps others see us. Now, we can improve self-ratings. One way to do this is have individuals compare themselves to others. They might recognize that they're not the best at everything, and it might make them see areas where they have to improve. We should also allow employees to practice their self-evaluations. Also, if we ensure their confidentiality and emphasize the future rather than just the past, self-ratings may be more accurate. Now, it's good to get customers, and customers can be both external, those people who pay for goods and services, but they also might be internal, people in other departments who are served by an employee. And so employees might become more focused on meeting and exceeding customer expectations if indeed those customers evaluate them or contribute to their evaluation. But we have to understand that getting data from customers takes a lot of time, and it can also be expensive. And so there is a cost to be paid, and we might need to consider, does the cost outweigh the benefit? And if that's the case, we might want to forego customer evaluations. Increasingly, we're using digital mechanisms to monitor employees. We can count keystrokes. We can monitor production in a digital way. We collect sales data on a very regular basis and report it on a daily basis. We can harness this data that we capture and use it for the management of performance. And so this may provide us with much more accurate information about how people are performing on various dimensions. However, we have to be careful about how we do this, because if employees feel like they are being controlled or manipulated, if they feel that it is invading privacy that they have, then people might have a negative reaction to using performance monitoring and big data. What we can do is to try and be transparent, to let people know when they're being evaluated and how that data will be used. We have to assess how people are reacting. If they feel insecure, if they feel like their privacy is being invaded, then we have to reconsider how we're implementing performance monitoring. It's good to emphasize the use of performance monitoring for learning and development, to say, hey, this is information being fed back just to you to improve your performance. And so that may be a better use of that data than for using it for a formal evaluation to make personnel decisions. And we have to be careful about how we use this data. We need to be careful about making it confidential so it's not spread throughout the company. And we have to look at what results are being achieved through the use of this data. Sometimes we may be incentivizing outcomes that we don't intend. There may be unintended consequences because we're rewarding the wrong thing. And so we have to carefully monitor how we are using in an organization this electronic performance monitoring.